Welcome. Let's go. Welcome to the Extraordinary Podcast. Come on. Come on. Woo. Welcome to the Extraordinary Podcast. Your song. Come on. Your song. Yeah. Just because you are. Your song. Your song. Woo. Believe it in your heart. Ooh. Welcome to the Extraordinary Podcast. Come on. Welcome to the Extraordinary Podcast. Woo. Welcome to the Extraordinary Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, you are now tuned in. Welcome to the Be Extraordinary Podcast. Let's go! Welcome to the Be Extraordinary Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, how y'all doing today? Good. Welcome to the Be Extraordinary Podcast. In the meantime, welcome. Let's go! Welcome to the Extraordinary Podcast. Come on. Come on. Woo. Welcome to the Extraordinary Podcast. Your song. Come on. Your song. Yeah. Just because you are. Your song. Your song. Woo. Believe it in your heart. Ooh. Welcome to the Extraordinary Podcast. Come on. Welcome to the Extraordinary Podcast. Woo. Welcome to the Extraordinary Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, you are now tuned in. Welcome to the Be Extraordinary Podcast. Let's go!
Welcome to the Be Extraordinary Podcast. And it is so wonderful to see all your smiling faces. I am the host, Joetta. I am a 4-time Olympian, motivational speaker, author, and I have my 5 Ps: have a purpose, get prepared, be patient, get perturbed, and persevere. Here on the Be Extraordinary Podcast, it's not always about me because I have a co-host, Tyrone Johnson, and he has his Fs.
Hello, how's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing well. I have my 5 Fs in this order: faith, family, finance, fitness, and friends. Those are the principles that I try to live by every day.
And we want you to know that when you have your Ps and you have your Fs, I'm sure some of you have your own little words that you use to give you affirmations, but whatever they are, make sure you use them because it's important to put yourself first. Here we're in studio now with Bizarre Creative, and he does a lot of awesome things, website designs, photographs, and videos. So if you want someone to help you design your multimedia, please contact AJ. You have his phone number and his website. So AJ is the man to help you get to where you want to be. Again, I'm happy to be here this evening. I just want to do a little check-in. The JoTyme check-ins are really kind of cool. And I always have a check-in. Don't look at me like that. I have a check-in.
I just know that.
You know that. I have a JoTyme check-in. How are you doing? Did you put yourself first today, Tyrone? Did you do something for yourself today?
Yep, I did something for myself.
Well, good. Well, I'm going to do something for all of you because it's Wisdom Wednesday. Wisdom Wednesday. That's right. And I want you to understand this. And it's this right here.
Can I ask you a question before you go?
No, don't ask the question.
I just want to know.
Okay.
The glasses that you have on,
Yes.
they're so pretty. And they match your outfit.
Right. Thank you.
I just wanted to let you know that's my check-in.
That's your
paying
check-in?
attention.
Okay, I
So
appreciate
get
that.
your Wednesday back up.
Get my Wednesday, my Wisdom Wednesday. So many people, as we get older, we want to put that back up. As we get older, and we talk about this all the time. We get tired of hearing the same conversation over and over, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. So today, this is Wisdom Wednesday, and this is what I want to say to everyone. As you get older, you should become the person that you envisioned yourself to be. Your conversation, your mind, your body, your soul must release the pain, disappointment, and failure of the past. Please focus on decisions that make you happy, healthy, and productive. That's my check-in on Wednesday, Wisdom Wednesday.
Double H to the P. I got you.
That's right, you got me. So we want to show you a little video. We have an amazing sponsor for the month of November, WOCIP, Women of Color in Pharma. And this video is going to give you a brief overview of who they are. And then when we come back from the video, we're going to get right to our amazing two guests.
Hi, I'm Adana Davis, a leading executive member of WOCIP, as well as an executive leader at one of the largest global pharmaceutical companies in the nation. Fellow WOCIP members, as well as those considering membership, have opportunities to learn about the pharmaceutical industry through networking. We believe these connections are beneficial for personal and professional growth. WOCIP membership has increased my visibility and given me access to senior leaders in our industry. A particularly useful tool, members have access to the Energy Leadership Index or ELI assessment. Taking the ELI assessment is an important step in your journey toward becoming an extraordinary leader in your life and the life of others. The Energy Leadership System teaches individuals to consciously choose to use their ability to influence and impact others to bring about results that are positive for themselves and for their organization. The WOCIP Collective has learned that the best way to derive benefits from WOCIP membership is through active engagement. I would recommend intentional and active networking, utilization of our complementary Energy Leadership Index assessment, targeted programming, coaching, and other professional development resources. At WOCIP, we believe in lifting others as you climb the corporate ladder, so seize the opportunities to mentor and sponsor other women of color.
That's a great overview of an amazing organization. And I just want to take the opportunity to say, when you tune into this show, you tune in to hear conversations with leaders and influencers and people that will help you reach your fullest potential. So this show is talking about the career connections and exposing college students to careers in pharma, but also we're going to talk about the career opportunities that you have for women in pharma as well. And for the men that are on the show, don't get discouraged. We have some information for you as well. For you as well. Our next guest on the show will be Nyambi Harris. Niambi is energetic. She's courageous. She's an advocate for the Black community. She is also works at a Japanese organization. She did an undergrad at an HBCU, North Carolina A&T, and she also went on to get her MBA as well. And she studied chemistry. She does a lot of amazing things. And one of the things that she told me that she is passionate about is her foundation, Why Save a Life Foundation. And when she graces this screen, we're going to be able to ask her a lot more about her organization, about what she does in pharma, and then also what she does as her passion with her foundation. So Niambi, welcome to our Be Extraordinary podcast.
Hello, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited.
Well, we're happy to have you here. And we talked about the HBCU, so I'm going to have to let him tell you what school Tyrone went to and graduated from.
Lincoln University.
Well, that's a great school. My nephew goes to Lincoln, but I have to say the illustrious institution of North Carolina Agricultural Technical State University, Aggie Pride. You know, we are the best, hashtag GHOE. And I'm a proud alumnus. So all my Aggies that are on, you know, we're cheering.
I'll get that to you since Lincoln was the first HBCU. I'll get that to you.
Yes,
Wow,
yes,
we
because you
got-
know we have gold medalists now. So first of all, I'm super excited to be here
yes.
with the gold medalist, and now A&T has 2 gold
Yes,
medalists. So I'm
yes.
just going to drop that knowledge on everybody.
Well, there you go. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing is wrong with that. We could go on and on
Yes.
talking about sports,
Yes.
but today we're going to talk about pharma, and we're going to bring sports back because we do get injured and we do need some
Yes.
pharmaceutical stuff at times. But for right now, if you just give us a little bit of background about how you got started in the pharmacy industry. I know going to college, you studied chemistry, which was amazing, but can you go back and talk us through how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, so I mean, first I got to say thank you, God, right? And for giving me 2 parents that loved and supported me, encouraged my interest in science and math. And so really the journey began at my high school, the Petty School. And my teacher when I was a junior, Dr. Julie Ely, saw that I was really excelling at chemistry and put me in a lot of programs to gain my interest. So, and so from that, you know, I decided I was going to major in chemistry in college. And you know, we were looking at colleges, and my dad had set up some time at the chemistry department at North Carolina A&T. And I went to visit and got really excited because one of the professors, she's like, I send kids to Paris. And I was like, all right, this is the school for me. I get to travel, you know, you're young. And so I took that journey of having becoming a chemistry major and receiving my BS in chemistry. And then I went on after I graduated. Initially, I wanted to go to grad school and get my PhD, but I started working first. You know, I joined the company at Schering Plough. I became a chemist in a laboratory.
Okay.
And when first I was actually temping. It took me a year and a half to find a permanent job, but I was like temping at different labs. So I didn't really know about pharma until I got these temp positions. And I was hired at Schering Plough. And then I realized I didn't like the lab. So now what do you do? And so when I was younger, I always wanted to own a business. So I decided to go back to grad school and get my master's of administration at Rutgers. So I am, you know, public education, you know, has given me a great opportunity.
Mhm.
And once I had received that degree, other opportunities came. I became a quality engineer that exposed me to the manufacturing and production, these different opportunities that led me to another opportunity, a small generic firm in which I started working with different contractors and manufacturers. So it was kind of this journey where I took advantage of opportunities as they came to me, right? When I was an undergrad, I can't emphasize enough, I interned every summer.
Yes.
Because of one of my classmates, I had an opportunity at Hahnemann Med School internship my freshman year. The deacon at my church presented an opportunity for me to intern at Pfizer for 2 summers. And then another classmate introduced me to Georgia State, where I helped a PhD student. So that because of those internships, me not understanding, companies wanted to hire, this is why I was getting jobs in pharma and not in like hospital, other, you know, or going into research, is because I had some experience. So it was me taking advantage of things as they came to me and just kind of led me into this pharmaceutical industry.
And it's so often when we talk about pharmaceutical, we always think about the salesperson. And it's so important that the audience, parents, and the students understand that there are a plethora of careers in the industry. And just listening to you, you spoke to about 5 different careers that you were a part of. And so with that being said, I know STEM is really important, but how does a parent or the children, college students listening, how do they become aware of this? I mean, you seem to have had guidance and professors and people that, you know, steered you in a certain path. How, if you're on your own, how do you become aware of this?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's really asking the question. And as you know, I have become a mom and becoming a parent. And what you recognize is that, you know, you got to, talk to people, right? The guidance counselors, the school teachers went in their classes, I'm online, now they have these science boxes that I didn't even have when I was younger with my child. And it's really kind of stepping out of the box of what we know. When I grew up, my parents, especially my mother, a lot of them either teachers or admins, right? But however, my grandfather was an engineer. He was a professor at Howard University. And so because of that, you're right. It was a strong influence in math and science because of that, right? Even though my parents weren't scientists, I would sit on my grandfather's lap and he would teach me the biscuits and 3.144, and so that's what it was, right? Gaining that interest. But what my parents did was they reached out to people they knew that were in science to find out, hey, what other things can my daughter get involved in? It worked with the teachers. I think a lot of times we don't ask the question, right? And reach out to the teachers. So it's kind of one of those things you have to do is a little bit more research, but there's so much out there. Get your kids involved. Like when there's after school, schools now, they have STEM programs, coding programs, all those things. Call and find out. Sometimes they provide scholarships for students, right, to go to these things, or it's free. Your township sponsor all, libraries. Go to the library. They have great things that go on for kids now, in science and opportunity. So there's a lot of different ways. You just have to ask the question and do the work and introduce it to your child, right?
That's if you know the question. A lot of times you may not know the question to ask. And you went to the Petty School, which is a fine private school down in Lawrenceville.
Right.
It's
Hightstown.
Mm-hmm. Right, Hightstown, New Jersey. So you were afforded those opportunities. But with that being said, I know we spoke earlier and you're passionate about giving back to other people. So I know that you really work hard in getting the college kids in STEM. So this weekend, you're going to be speaking at the WOCIP convention to college students and the women there too. But what will be some of your takeaways that you're going to give to the college students about careers in pharma?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought this up and you mentioned one of the things. So here's a great opportunity. The Women of Color in Pharma is going to have a college career connection mini conference Saturday, November 13th. And we'll definitely put the login and the link. And they're going to have an opportunity to hear about what do you do when you get your degree. They're going to hear about things, imposter syndrome. They're going to hear about the importance of sponsorship and mentorship. And, you're also going to have an opportunity to talk with these leaders and people in the pharma industry, connect. I would say this is such a great, I wish I had this opportunity when I was in college and or high school. To be able to connect with somebody in the industry that we're so willing to bring our children into this industry because it's so very important, right? I'm definitely a STEM advocate, right? And to your point, sometimes we don't know to ask the question. And I think what we're trying to do better is to start having the conversation earlier in elementary school and junior high school. Like there's great programs out of Newark, Students to Science, where they start the kids off in 4th grade and bring them to the lab. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it is about exposure. And I think to your point, the WOCIP conference and connection hopefully will lead to other things so we can expand to how we can get kids more involved. So parents know, oh, okay, we can ask the question, right?
Yes. And I think with Tyrone, he was a firefighter and he always talked about trying to bring people in on the force. And could you just talk to that point about the importance of you doing that?
You know what? Now it's you have to really get to them because of COVID, because of different things. So a lot of different industries or businesses or companies, people want to know the safety aspect first. They want to know, what the hours and the work schedule and the money and everything. But even now, with you going into the school system or you just going into these different forums and telling kids that this is the company, this is the brand, this is this, they see it. I was like you. I was, in college, I'm about to leave a degree in accounting and I come home and I got to do substitute teaching for a year because I can't get in a firm. I can't do this and business minor. Next thing you know, the fire department comes up, I take the test, 25 years later, I retire. So a lot of times, even with a sports background, but like you were saying, I still use my talents and my skill sets because I was the head coach at Science High School for 15 years. So developing kids, I always told them, it's not the fact that you can go to college, it's what you're going to do once you get out of college. What's your game plan then? Some people don't have it. They don't have experience. You go to school for 4 years, and when you come out, what kind of work ethic do you have? Where did you work? Everything is on the application.
Right. Right. It's a plan. Mm-hmm.
No, I was going to say, if you could speak to the kids, they want things quickly. And
the next day, graduate job.
Right.
You know.
And you walk us through your career and it's still developing. So what do you tell them now that, you know, they see you working for the Japanese company, you have your foundation, they don't see the grind early on. So what do you tell them when they are trying to get into pharma and how they have to stick and stay to something to eventually get through to a position where you are?
Right. And so first, I want to thank you for your service. So thank you for your service. I do want to acknowledge that. It's great to see that. But to your point, this is a conversation me and my friends have all the time, right? These kids don't even know. One day I made a joke with my kids. I asked them for the remote. They didn't want to get it. I said I used to be the remote, and they didn't even understand, right? They've always had automatic cell phones and computers. And so you're right. How do you instill a work ethic in these children so they understand that you have to learn the science or learn the technology or learn your skill, right? And then when you understand and learn your skill, right, that means practicing and discipline, right? You know, my career coach always said, if you practice an hour every day and you could just be 1% better than somebody, right, that skill, you'll be successful. And I think, you know, with this generation, unfortunately, when you have American Idol and everything, where people they think they become stars, they're not really realizing, you know, Queen Latifah's been doing this for 30 years. She started at like 16, or Will Smith, like they didn't become billionaires overnight, right? And sometimes I have that conversation with kids, like, you do realize this person, she started at like 14 and she's been doing this all the time. They didn't just become great. And you're right, it's a conversation that's very important, being mentored in the street. For me, I'm grateful that my parents, I learned to respect my elders. And the reason why that was important, because I had to learn to listen to wisdom. And so that translated into when I came into an industry where I thought I can build an empire state in a day. Some people took me to the side. I've been mentored to say, no, that's not how it works, young lady, right? We're not at A&T anymore, right? But at least I had a listening ear, right, to understand this is what you have to do. And, you know, one of the most important things I learned and how my career kind of took off in pharma, you know, I used to be the girl that used to be like, why is this wrong? Why are you doing this wrong? Why, you know, like I used to find problems. And somebody pulled me to the side and said, you know, Niambi, you're great at finding problems, but you need to learn to solve them. And that, if I wasn't in a place to hear what that person was saying, right? Because I thought I knew everything, right? I was young. It wouldn't have shifted my career. So I became a problem solver. And so now people love that. Like, oh, she figured a problem and she fixed it, so I don't have to worry about it. But that came from being mentored, from listening, right? Taking my time, understanding my science. My father always told me, if I understand the material, I'll pass the test. And that's why I try to teach my daughter. You got to understand the material to pass the test. It's not passing the test. It's understanding the skill, and you'll get the A or the B, right? And that's what we have to kind of continue with our kids to understand what the result is. Like, they don't see the long term of why I'm teaching this skill, right?
And I think it's important that you say you're understanding something, and you have to, once you understand it, you can learn it. A lot of times you think you know the material and you don't know the material. So on Saturday, when you have these college students in your presence, hopefully that they will have the mindset to listen and to receive and to be open and receptive. And I think that there's one thing that I like about you already is that you have a passion and you can feel it and an energy. And growing up, your parents directed you, but they didn't stifle your energy. And I think that that is the thing that's the edge that you have that keeps you growing and thriving in the industry, is that you have that edge, that passion. And you, as you've gotten older, you learn how to let it marinate. And as my mother would say, let it marinate. And then you made it your own. So with that being said, this first segment has gone by really quickly, but you're not going to go anywhere. We're going to go to Jacqueline. We're going to have you guys come back together. But I think from this takeaway is that you had advocates, you had mentors, you listened, you went to a school that provided opportunities. And for parents, ask the right question. And if you don't know what the right question is, you can go online and you can do some research, and you can work with your child to find that right question.
And I like that your career path went one way, but then you decided to deviate over here, and then you made it your way. Because a lot of times people don't realize you can go to school for one thing, that's fine. But you can have another thing in the back of your mind that you like. Like you said, you started to do one thing, you really didn't like it. And you said, you know what, let me do, oh, now I like this. Some people get stuck in that career and really don't, it's not for them. And
right,
you know,
it is too, and I want to emphasize what Joetta said. My parents gave me the permission to make a
Yes.
choice and change. And that's so important so you don't feel stuck, right? And I also want to emphasize going to a historically Black college university, A&T changed my life because those professors were there for me. Unfortunately, it was a situation I couldn't pay for school when they found a scholarship. And then I ended up working in a research lab while I was an undergrad. And then the friendships I built and the network where they continue to say, and we were all young, say, you can do this, right?
Yes.
So, I can't emphasize the importance of HBCUs and how it changed my life, because really the how I got into the industry and excelled is because what they taught me, and because they told me I can do it, right? It wasn't a discouragement. It was like, no, we're educating you to be successful, because as my parents used to say, I'm the retirement plan, right? So you're going to learn this, but you're absolutely right. Like, it really is about that village, right? And we want to create this village for our children.
And speaking about the village for your children, please put in the chat how parents and children can join on Saturday, and some information that'd be really important for them to see that. Wow, that segment went really fast, Tyrone. So we're going to come right back to you. Well, not right back to you, Niambi, but we're going to go to Jacqueline, but we will come back to you. And then if anyone has any questions, any comments, please put them in the chat. You know how to raise your hand. We will call on you. WOCIP has a lot of great programs for college students and also the professional women. So please check out their website, WOCIP.org. And before we go any further, we're going to come to the JoTyme Health Tips with Tyrone.
You always trying to sneak this little health tip in, Miss Joetta.
Well, it's part of the group. Everyone wants to see.
No, this is really a very important health tip. Because I've been watching people throughout their seasons go through this different mindset, and they never knew what it was. They didn't know going from the spring to the fall and the summer to all of that. They didn't know that. So this one is seasonal affective disorder, SAD. I mentioned that last week on the show. And I said, sometimes people go through certain things. They don't know why they're depressed, or changes in the season or things like that. So that's what SAD is. SAD begins and ends at about the same time every year. If you're like most people with SAD, your symptoms start in the fall, which is now, and continue throughout the winter months, sapping your energy and making you feel moody. Less often, SAD causes depression in the spring and early summer. So this time of year, you're really gonna have those symptoms. So with SAD causes certain things. The specific cause of seasonal affective disorder remains unknown. They really don't know what it is, but some factors may be that your biological clock is off, the reduced level of sunlight. Like we told you, fall, it falls back. It gets dark about 4:45, 5 o'clock now. That might mess you up. You might go to your serotonin levels. It might be a drop in that, a brain chemical that affects your mood. You wonder why I'm depressed. The melatonin, the same thing. That's really important. So all of these three signs might have you feeling depressed, but at the end, it's going to show you some things you can do. So some of the symptoms and signs might be feeling depressed most of the day, losing interest in activities, having low energy, having problems with sleeping, experiencing changes in your appetite and your weight, feeling sluggish or agitated, having difficulty concentrating, feeling hopeless, worthless, or guilty, and having frequent thoughts of death or suicide. Now, the suicide hotline is through the roof because I right now work with Newark Police Department, and a lot of times we have a lot of situations that when I go to work, I have to deal with it because I pick up property and evidence and a lot of suicide notes, from kids, and it's out there. So complications of it can be social withdrawal, school or work problems, substance abuse, other mental health disorders such as anxiety and eating disorder. That eating disorder is really big when it comes to the sad portion of this time of the year. Suicidal thoughts, the same thing.
Right.
And treatment can be helped or prevented. You can contact your doctor or, a specialist, and they can help you out with some things.
Okay.
And I think we have one more. Okay, and that's the bottom line.
That's my time, huh?
Yes.
Well, the bottom line is that it's normal to have some days when you feel down, but if you feel down for days at a time, you need to get some help from your doctor. So that's really important to do that. There's there's a lot of help out there for you to get. So if you are feeling sad, please reach out to your family, to friends, and to your doctor to get you through this situation.
And because this is the holiday season, a lot of times we're used to doing family things, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's.
Right.
And, COVID kept us away from a lot of things like that, the social network. So right now, some people are going to start enjoying that a little bit, going to visit or see people, or even like we're doing now on the podcast.
Right.
So if you're feeling a little depressed, anxious, and just down, just get into a different space. It's a lot of things you can start doing. With me, like I said this morning, as Joe, I went through something that I shouldn't have gone through at 56, but I did, and I worked through it. And right now I'm feeling much better. Right. Because the pain was so excruciating, and I feel much better because I always, like she said, what was my Tuesday? Pray on it Tuesday.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that a little bit later.
And
that
I
was
prayed
really
on it.
We're gonna have to
So
talk about
now
that.
I feel much better.
And we're gonna talk about that.
Okay.
But thank you for sharing that, and please get help. And it's important. Speaking about help, WOCIP is here to help us this weekend. And our next guest will be Jacqueline Harena. She has an MBA. She went to Central Connecticut State University, got her MBA from Post University. And there's a G there, and she was very specific. She said, "I'm a proud Puerto Rican," and it's Gerena, but it's Harena. And I said, "Well, I'm gonna do my best to say it right." So I'm gonna have you mute yourself, and you put out your name and give us a little bit more background about you and what you're doing in pharmaceuticals and your work with WOCIP. Thank you for coming on the show.
No, thank you, Joetta and Tyrone, for having us. And me coming after Niambi, I have big shoes to fill, right? But yes, no, and yes, proud Puerto Rican. So, Jacqueline Harena, and you said it perfectly.
Harena. Okay.
The G sounds like an H. Yes.
Harena.
I was practicing all week for this.
I know.
She was phonetically writing it down just to make sure.
I see the H.
See, you telling my secrets. That's not fair. That was our secret.
No, but yeah, I just want to thank y'all for allowing us to come on this podcast and represent WOCIP and what it means to us and the impact it's had on our lives, and also the impact we want to have on these college students this weekend. Like Niambi said, it's a free mini conference, and you will get programming and assets that we will then share with our adults, because it's like, embrace it and learn it now as a child, as a student, right? If we knew then what we knew now, boy, would I have taken a different path, because unlike Niambi, my path to pharma was not clear cut, right? It was not science. It was not any of that. So for the students to come to this free conference, it's a mini conference. And not just that, they will also have access to the WOCIP full conference exhibit hall. So you're going to have this mini conference on Saturdays, but you will have access to that virtual lobby where these pharmaceutical companies have their virtual booths set up with, information about their organizations, possibly opportunities available for students or recent grads. So it's a win-win, right? Why not do it? And it's free. And you'll get to see us. That's like the best part, right?
Yes.
Well, you know what? Can we go back to a point? You said that your career path was different from Niambi. So could you please talk to the point? How did you get to be in your shoes as an adult?
Absolutely, yes. So in my stilettos.
Stilettos, absolutely.
Yes. So my undergrad is not STEM at all. My undergrad is criminology, right? I wanted to help people. I did my internship in a young offender program because I grew up in a kind of rough neighborhood. And I wanted to teach the youth that, you know, your environment does dictate who you are and you can be better. Like that was my goal. And then I got into pharmaceuticals by chance. While I was doing my undergrad, and I had a job in the healthcare payer sector. So like your health insurance. Once I finished school, an old director who knew me from when I worked on a call center way back in the health insurance company was like, hey, can y'all find that Jackie Gerena girl? We need her skill sets. And you know why? Because I look at every job that I have had, no matter what it is. I don't look at titles. I don't look at all of that. I look at that job as an opportunity for me to grow in my skill sets. So I am always looking for that stretch assignment, always looking to do more because it helps me for the next one. And boy, did this help me. I went and I just went to be not rude, right? But they came and they're like, we need your skill sets. There's this risk management program that the FDA is imposing on our new drug. Small company, one new drug, ultra orphan for super rare disease. And they go, we like your skill sets that you reflected when you were at the insurance company doing reports and things like that. So if now you fast forward, here I am in pharmaceuticals, I did it. And the reason I did it is they had tuition reimbursement and I knew I wanted my MBA. Yes. But now having a small child, having to work full time, my father said, if you go even just so they can pay for school is good enough. All right, cool. Did that, learned as much as I could, did my MBA, and you fast forward where I started in the pharmaceutical industry as an administrative assistant, supporting, writing the notes with the chief medical officers and all these big wigs. And you fast forward a few years later, here I am running and owning this entire safety program, which is mandated and required for them to sell their drug, their only drug. And I learned that being there. And to give you a little perspective on how sort of niche what I do is, if you think about all the prescription medications approved in the US, currently there's, I think 61 prescription drugs that require this risk safety program that I know how to do and I oversee and I operationalize and implement. And that program is required for them to be able to sell the drug because the FDA is like, yeah, benefits outweigh the risk, but there's a little bit of a risk we're not too comfortable about. So we need you to do extra surveillance. This isn't something that you even would learn in school or whatever. I learned on the job, all because you take what you have, you learn, you stretch, and like Niambi said, show up and show out and never be afraid to take on that extra task and connect, and don't be afraid to speak to people.
And I think
you can tell I'm not afraid.
No, you're not. Neither one of you. You're fearless women, and you're saying your sign behind you says, "What is that? Perfect her, protect her."
Project Her. So that's the name of our conference, Project Her.
Project Her. Okay.
Empowering, yeah.
And I think that you said something. We have to encourage our young students to pick their heads up from these phones and to engage, to interact with people. And I think so often they get lost in the Twitter and Instagram. And I often say, don't go into a room and take pictures and then tweet it and then think that that's important. What's important is what you take out of that room knowledge-wise. So show me what you're learning and how you're applying it to your life. It's okay to tweet. We all want to do hashtags. I got that. But the bigger picture is here while you're in this room with all these dynamic women or wherever you are, don't do more than take pictures. Take away some knowledge. So that's really important. So what is your product that you said that you have one, you're specializing in one, what is it, that drug that you have? What is specifically the drug that you're working on?
Yeah, so I've overseen these risk programs in drugs in the past, orphan drugs, drugs for opioid addiction. You know, the drug that I'm currently working on now is to help children who are allergic to peanuts. It helps desensitize them. So when you think about kids, and as a parent being afraid of, can I put Timmy on the bus, soccer practice, the peanut free table, which comes with all types of bullying that we, you know, as adults try to help with, but we can't. Now it's this product where it helps desensitize. It doesn't cure, but it helps desensitize where they don't have to sit at that peanut free table, right? And as mom and dad, you still have, you can chill a little bit. They still have to carry that EpiPen, right? And there's still the risk of anaphylaxis, which is where I come in. but it's life changing, and that's why it's important what we do. And then I just want to touch back on me saying that my path into pharma was not traditional.
Yes.
I just want to, what we want to emphasize to the students on Saturday and to those that may be listening today is the pharmaceutical industry is like a mini town. It needs everyone to run. So it is not just the scientists and the engineers. You need your project managers who, believe me, I can't do what they do. You need your finance people, your sales, your marketing, your medical people. You need your administrative support. So it's a village. So communication. So what I say to students is, regardless what your major is, there's still a place for you somewhere in this pharma world. You just have to want to go into that. And that's the whole point of Saturday, is to educate these students so that they make an informed and an intentional choice to try to get into pharma. You know, my choice is not there. I did 10 years somewhere else, and had I known, ooh, I would have been CEO right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the knowledge that you have, you're going to pass that to the college students now so that they can be on the career path sooner than you were. And I think that it's also important. You are a board member of WOCIP. And so being a board member, being able to speak and touch the students there and also the other women there, that must be rewarding for you.
Oh my gosh, yes, that touches directly where my passion is. You know, my passion is to empower others, regardless, female, male, but more importantly, you know, brown and black people, brown and black little girls. You know, that was me. And my parents were not educated, and they came from Puerto Rico to try and give us a better life, and they did. So just giving it back is huge. And being on the WOCIP board, I currently serve as one of the directors of professional development, which has allowed me to be in the face of our many members and have a positive impact on women across the globe. And that is something that is just priceless and touches upon my passion of just giving back and lifting as we climb, right? Lift as we climb. What I've learned, I'm going to pass that on so that it's easier for the next.
Yes.
And I think too, we sit here, I know what Tyrone, and we have a program that's called Cisco, Students Interested in Sports Career Opportunities. So sports is a $1 billion industry. Everyone's not going to be an Olympian or a track coach, but there's so many different avenues in there. And we try and say you could be the CEO, you could be the accountant, you could be the physical therapist of these sports teams and these athletes. So at the convention this weekend, we'll find out they'll find out that they can do other things other than just the basic pharmaceutical sales, which is what they've heard probably for a long time.
Yeah, and that's usually what people think of when they look at someone like Nyambi and I, right? They're women, they're beautiful, they're in pharma. Oh, they must sell the drug. No, we're really smart. We're, you know, mitigating risk and ensuring that the whole company is compliant with FDA requirements. We're making sure the drugs are safe. We're engineering them. We're building them. We're in the labs. So yeah, pretty faces don't just sell the drug. We also kind of help develop them and put them out there, make them safe.
Now, how long would you have if you know, you were working on something? What's the expiration, or what's the time that they'll say, you know what, let's scrap this one and start something else, or let's try to make this better? Like if the drug isn't working or isn't right, the risk factor.
Yeah, so when I come in is after it's approved is when I come in with my risk factors.
Yes.
But in the interim, prior to approval, it's all in the clinical operations component, the clinical area of the pharmaceutical. And that it all comes down to the appetite of the organization on how much more time and resource and investment they want to put into the drug. And if they really believe, and there has been, so for example, my first company that I worked for, they had the molecule there and they had that ready to go. But it didn't work for what they initially thought. But they were like, gosh, this is so good. Let's come back to the table. So they had that appetite. They went back to the table and they found a completely different issue that molecule they developed helped with. And ended up being the only treatment at the time for patients who were affected by that ultra rare disease. So I think it's all comes down to, you know, prior to approval, it comes down to the appetite of the organization of what they're really driving towards and their mission and vision and the resources and the backing that they have. But then after approval, the risk factor is where, you know, the regulatory teams and things like that come into effect, and even your patient safety and drug safety teams to ensure. Because, for example, when a patient gets a side effect, that gets reported, but
Yes.
people think of side effects as negative. I always like to look at the little glimmer of things. Side effects are great. That's how pharmaceutical companies have been able to find additional uses for medications.
That's good.
That's right.
Yes.
Think about Botox, right? Botox
Mhm.
is not just for wrinkles. And because of the reporting of these, reactions, which reactions don't always have to be negative, they can be positive. Now Botox is helping people who have crippling migraines, right? So that's a great example of how, there's different components and the students can just learn, and it's a whole mini world. Being, I call it a town, and it needs everyone to be running.
And I think before we go on, today is, let's see, one more month, December 10th. So it's 11 months. It'll be a year that Tyrone had COVID and pneumonia, and he was hospitalized for about 7-8 days. So can you speak to the drug that they gave you at that time?
So let me go back a little bit before, because I actually talked about that today. Going on the Newark Fire Department, right now it's one of the safest departments out. But back then when I first came on, we had these little canister that you put in front and it had a mask on. So we actually had to share masks. So back then, guys that had whatever, I don't know, I would come to work sometimes, put that mask on and come back and feel nauseous and stuff, and everything going through for the first 2 years, migraines, serious migraine, until they changed. So what wound up happening is my immune system got compromised. So I would always keep flushing my system with algae and everything I can do. So now fast forward to last year, December 10th, I'm around people, same thing. My immune system got compromised. I wound up getting COVID pneumonia. When I got COVID pneumonia, I got really sick and tired, and I got to the hospital, and the first thing that they said was, we're gonna give you this new drug, remdesivir. Me saying, I don't know what it is, but whatever you gotta give me, it has to take this out of my system. Within 4 days, I went from really hot, burning up and bad to okay. A month later, I haven't been on any medication for the last 10 months. So I was just telling Joetta, that's what I'm going through now, where it's going to be good to see December the 10th again, where I don't have to take anything. My immune system is great. And a lot of times people don't realize it started way back then, and I kept having to fight. I drink so much water. I drink so much water because when I got in the hospital, the first thing they gave me was Eliquis, remdesivir, steroid. They gave me so many things, and it's like my body was over. I got so, I didn't know what to do. I freaked out because I never had that many needles. Or so right now, when we talk to you about medication and things that happen, not saying that I was the guinea pig, it worked for me. So sometimes when people say, I don't want to take this shot, I don't want to take that, what does not work for me is Tylenol. I don't know why. If I get a migraine, I have to take Excedrin.
Yeah. And that brings us to your point as well. It's the drugs that he took back then have gotten better and help people as we move forward. Speaking of moving forward, we're going to bring Niambi back on, and she's going to be part of this great conversation. If anyone has any comments or questions, please feel free to raise your hand. Please remember to put information in the chat so they can contact you, ladies, if need be, or the websites they can go to, or if they want to sponsor a young child to get membership with WOCIP, that's important too. So if you could put that in the chat, that'd be good. We're going to just come back to Dr. Charlotte Burton and her dear co-founder, Patricia. So can you talk to the importance of the organization and what is done not only for you, but for other women and for our college students?
It's done wonders, right? I think you and I talked about this a little bit. We've, as an African-American woman, one, being Black in science, and two, being a woman in science, right? I've been outnumbered by men. We've been kind of forming our own little network, and the power in which Dr. Burton said, okay, you know what, we need to network, help each other, collaborate so we can really make some impact to this industry, right? We're out here, struggling. And so I attended the first conference. So I've been with this organization for a while, supporting, and for it to grow from like 100 to thousands and globally in 4 or 5 years, it tells you there was a need. She fulfilled it. And the programs, and one of the programs I was in this year was the Global Leadership Accelerator program. It was a cohort with 15 other women for middle managers. And even that, to hear other people's stories and for people, beginning another network and to give me solutions and problems I'm having, it's a very powerful thing because you're getting different perspectives. And I tell people all the time, when they talk about diversity, it's not just about color. It's about social economics, college education, your background, your experience, and we have to give it a full picture. And what Dr. Burton and the executive board, including Jacqueline, what they have done is giving that full picture. Right. And I just want to say that, and the reason why this is important is something that you both brought up and what Jackie was saying. We need to encourage each other so we can be in these rooms when we design these drugs, or when these drugs are having a positive impact in one group, but not so much in Latinx or African American, but you need somebody advocating for you, right? So this is why I'm, speaking up about this. And this is the power of this organization. So now I can reach out to somebody. How do I advocate so we don't discontinue the research in this drug? Yes. So it's a very empowering organization. And you know how exciting it is to walk in a room to see somebody that looks like you and is a nerd like you and loves science and talk about that in the industry. And it is like the most exciting thing for me. And for obviously thousands of other people who would have known outside of my experience at A&T. So, I just want to leave that there. It is making a global impact, and that's what we want to do. Right. So I'll let Jacqueline her part, because I know she's been really
I'm going
involved.
to have you continue on with that, because she gave a perspective as a member, but you're going to give a perspective of the executive board. And what would you add to that?
Yeah, being a board member, we take on the responsibility of ensuring that we put together programs and assets and things that our members can take away with tangible difference, right? So, what it means to be on this board and to be part of WOCIP, I echo what Niambi said. I found WOCIP because I was looking for something, right? And I didn't know what it was. I was looking and I'm like, is it, healthcare business? Is it a Latina this? Is it a women in science? I found WOCIP and I said, oh, these are my people. After that first conference I attended, it infused me. And it just was, I didn't even know I was missing something or what it was until I found WOCIP, and the transformation that I've made personally and professionally after being with WOCIP, and that I've been able in turn to sort of infuse through osmosis with the work that I've done through WOCIP for other women is amazing. Yeah. And for that, we thank, Dr. Charlotte Joan Burton and Patricia, because Cornette, without them, we wouldn't be here, right? We need them, we needed this. And it just, I get a little bit emotional when I think about it, because, you're the only, and that we sometimes call the purple unicorn. So it's difficult for folks like us, like Niambi said, to be the only, right? To be a woman in this industry, to be a person of color in this industry. And for us to be even our age is held against us, right? Yes. So it's like, the trifecta, but we come in, we show up, we show out. We have to be intentional about the way we show. And the one positive thing about COVID is it sort of leveled the playing field, right? Yeah. People can't go have those little coffee chat conversations and be sitting in offices all day. Now it's the playing level field, and this is where we show up and show up and be intentional. Right. I make sure my hair is done. I usually curly with the hoops, but be intentional. And
that's okay though. That's all right.
I keep the camera off. I'm good. I'd like to be my authentic self. So, you also, and one thing about college students we want to talk to about is being your authentic self and being successful, right? Because at the end of the day, you're representing you. Yes. But one thing I keep in mind, I'm also representing all these generations before me.
Absolutely.
And the ones to come ahead.
And the ones to come. And I'm doing this because you know what? Somebody took the time to do it for me. Mm-hmm. And so, so while Jackie looks cute, I keep the camera off.
Well, I can assure you, I was a keynote speaker at that event about 2 or 3 years ago. And there's a cuteness that the women have, but more importantly, there's a humbleness and a desire to help. And I go to a lot of women conferences, and sometimes you go to these conferences and no one wants to help. It's all about them. But I am not even in pharmaceutical. And when I left, I felt like getting a career in that because they were so engaging. And that is so important that you are at a convention, at a conference where everyone knows we're going to network, we're going to help each other, we're going to help each other, not only today, but when we leave the conference. So the kids there will do that. And even though you are the first or the only, be the best. And that is what we're going to hone in this weekend.
And have that, you know, and I want to bring up that fact. So imagine, like you mentioned, I work for a Japanese company. So imagine the rooms I walk in when I'm in Tokyo, or when I had to go to, I'm in Brazil, or I'm in, Germany. So just know, what I tell people all the time, I'm grateful. What I tell you, what A&T instilled in me is the confidence of knowing that I can do it. So when I walk in that room, I'm not intimidated. What I'm doing is my job. And that's what it teaches me, a focus. And that's also what WOCIP is teaching. And we want to get that across to these college career students. Do not be afraid, right? Because you're going to fall, right? Confucius tells you, you're going to fall. It's not about the falling, it's how you get up and learn, lessons learned, right? And so I just want to kind of mention that about WOCIP is developing programs so you know how to walk in a room and be authentic of who you are, know your network, and you get your job done, you do it well.
Exactly. And how to take your seat at the table, not wait for it to be given to you, because you know you have it, you earn it, you got it. Do not, shy away from that. And then I just wanted to touch back on sort of WOCIP and what it does for these, what it will do for these college students this weekend, right? Who are sort of maybe about to graduate or just graduated. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do in the workforce, and what it also does for our adult members who are already in the workforce, right? Our WOCIP members is it lets you know that those feelings that you feel when you walk into those rooms and when you're sitting there, they're normal. It's not in your head. That was the biggest thing that I had to get over. Like, am I reading into this energy or this vibe too much? Or is it for real that I'm being looked at different, that I'm being treated different, or am I being too sensitive? And WOCIP does an amazing job of pulling out data, actual metrics to prove to you that what you're feeling is on point, but also giving you strategies and tool sets on how to overcome that and be a shining star that you are, and take that seat and don't wait for it to be handed to you. And we just want the students to, and Joetta said it, she was there, she's not in Pharma, she was like, listen, I'm gonna get a job with these people. That's what these students will walk away with this weekend is, oh, I want what they got. They got that special juice, I want it.
And Tyrone, being a track coach at a school in Newark, he was a coach at one of the best public schools in Newark. He saw a lot of smart students, and he directed their paths as well. So I think that he always talked to me about them, maybe wanting to give up, and you could talk to how you encourage them to stay.
Because it was kind of hard. I left a school that had a dynamic track team, but the grades were a little, okay.
Oh,
so leaving a dynamic team to go into a magnet school like Science High School, with the first 4 boys I got on my team, they never ran track. The same 4 boys that stayed for 4 years wound up winning states, those same 4 boys. But one of the boys on the team aced the SAT. The first girl on my team was valedictorian. Number 2 was salutatorian. Number 3 was number 8 in the class. The 6th girl on my team was number 15. So they showed up and showed out in the classroom and on the track.
Yes.
And it took 4 years for me to get it to them, because know what I did? Practice for everybody in the whole city of Newark was 3 o'clock. No. We're going to the lab and we're going to do all our homework. We're going to practice at 5 o'clock. And it changed the whole dynamic. Even though Coach Johnson had to drive them home sometimes because it's dark and I got to take you home, so I got a big truck. But when I did that, now it made them study more, because the last class or the day, now you got to grab your bags, you got to go to the track, you got to sit there, everybody on the track at one time. No, 5 o'clock, we go on the track, and it worked.
And I think it's going to work with you. What you're doing will work this weekend with the students, for them to see, to be in the field and to get the energy, but also to be receptive to the knowledge. We talked earlier about, I have my S's, what is your skill, your strength, and your staying power. So I think if Niambi, we could speak to the point about staying power, about having the ability to stay. Can you talk about how important that is in your field?
Yeah, so first I'm gonna give Tyrone a special shout out because my husband's from the Brick City, so he's jumping for joy right now. But one of the things that you were talking about is discipline, right? So the staying power, right? So I kind of alluded to this about, I don't know if you read the book Outliers, but you should read that book. And that again was that discipline where you said every day we're going to study first so you understand your material and do the track. So there's a couple of things going on here. We don't have to just do one thing. But if you do a little bit every day, this is how you're going to be successful. Now you end up having a valedictorian, salutatorian, and a track star, right? And so that staying power is really about one, the habits you form, the plan. It's all about the plan, the studying, the disciplining, understanding the material. Like I said, as a scientist, right? I had to understand how this worked. Chemistry is all about understanding, and then you can apply it. That's the critical thinking, right? That's the decision making. And when you apply it, what happens, like Jackie said, so basically, because Jackie did her job well, she didn't have to go out there and look for it. Somebody picked up the phone. I need that girl Jackie, because she was up in that call center hustling, and I need somebody like that. She may not know everything in pharma, but I know she's smart enough to learn it. And that's the part that they miss, right? The kids is like, when you're trying, it's not about the quickness. A lot of times, right? Preparation really is hard work and opportunity meeting with each other, but you have to prepare and study and take just if it's 60 minutes a day, right? And the staying power is around you doing your job well, and then people are going to come attracting you, and you being willing to learn something new. In order for you to stretch and learn, you have to try something new, right? And so I tell kids, there's a couple of things that I came up, God kind of gave this to me. One, I'm no longer asking permission what God has already assigned me. That's one. And two, everything I do now is a stepping stone to what the future will bring. So that means I have to be willing to take that step into some brand new, right, opportunity. Right? And knowing that the foundation was in place so I can succeed and be willing to fall. And I think that's really what staying in power is about, right? So encourage our kids. In my opinion.
I took that step and said, well, let me go just so they can pay for grad school. Now I'm working on my doctorate's degree, and it wasn't the traditional path. And I had a child, and like Nyambi said, you have to be a little bit uncomfortable to grow and do more. So, I started in health insurance, then I went into pharma as administrator. Like I said, now I'm a director overseeing risk management programs, not just in the US, but globally as well. They've given me that global assignment. I'm my first, non-US employee direct report is starting in the week of Thanksgiving, all from a girl who was an administrative assistant, taking notes and just learned as much as I could. And that's because they knew I may not know it, but I'm going to figure it out, and I will learn it, and I will do it well. And being humble about that, right? And coming in, because like y'all said earlier, sometimes, I have an 18-year-old college age daughter who she's in college. Sometimes they forget that they really don't know it all. And they have to be a little bit humble, and we're here to help them. We want the next generation to be better than what we were. It's exactly what my parents said to us. And we do this because we're passionate about it, and we want that. So Niambi and I are here, and WOCIP is here out of that need that we saw and that desire within ourselves, but also within others. And we're here because we're passionate about it. We want to do more. We want to start young.
Wow.
And I it's so much information. I have a college student daughter as well, and she is not on the traditional field. We don't know where she's going to end up as far as career. She has her mindset on what she wants to do. She is in business and international relations and Asian studies for now. But the point is that when we talk to our youth on Saturday, and then also our own children, it's about allowing them to grow, about having a conversation. When we grew up, our parents said you were to be seen and not heard. But I try and say, I want to hear what you have to say, and let's talk through it together. So I think on Saturday, if we can just encourage these young students to communicate with us, and then we listen. And as we say at JoTyme Fitness, we're going to meet them where they are. And wherever they are, we're going to meet them there, but we're going to inspire them that they can do better and do more.
Yeah,
Right.
Niambi, and I want them to come with their questions. We're ready. So
Yeah.
this segment on Saturday, you know, it's going to be a mini conference. It's going to be amazing. There's so many dynamic speakers on imposter syndrome, all of that. And the session that Niambi and I will be working with our fellow WOCIP colleagues on is this, elaborating more on this pharma journey, you know, sort of what I like to call the A to Z to pharma, that little town, and touching upon all the various opportunities depending on whatever major you have or area you specify in. But we want them to come with questions. This is their session. It's not our session. We will open it up, but we're there to answer whatever questions they have and meet them where they are. If you just finished, if you're
Yes.
thinking about PhD, if you're thinking about, you know, if you're still in your undergrad, we want to meet you where you are, and we want to be able to give you as much information as possible. Absolutely.
Right. And I put my contact information. Anybody wants to email me about anything, any help or anything, just email me. And I do want to emphasize what she was saying. Any student, whether you're in dental school, med school, anything, the
Yes.
pharmaceutical industry, I work with nurses, doctors, there's lawyers. Pfizer was sending their scientists to law school. And that's what I'm talking about, those
Yeah.
incident,
Mhm.
you know, those opportunities. And so, you know, for me, it's really about getting the students to understand, take advantage of this opportunity, right? Because to get your foot in the door, it's all about the networking and saying, you know, and standing up and saying hello. You are
Yes.
not helping anybody by staying quiet. That's
Yeah.
We're playing to win here. Like when I
Right.
talk to kids, we're playing to win.
Yes.
And by the way, when you play to win, this is a very lucrative industry. It does not, because that's what kids want to know.
Yeah.
Trust me, it does. It's a lucrative industry, and when you play to win, you can really be able to create wealth around to support your family and your dreams. So, you know, I know that's what kids want to know. Like, yeah, you got me
Yeah.
doing all this work, but I ain't
Right.
trying to get paid $5 an hour,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And when you start
Especially
off,
if you start young,
Right.
young and you start with them smaller little companies that are willing to give these new grads opportunities, because that's the thing, these smaller pharmaceutical companies are the ones willing to give the students an opportunity.
You know why I'm gonna get both of y'all? Y'all are getting these kids to get ready to jump into this industry
So we
because
want,
that's what they need to hear.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, like you just said, they don't hear it from you. They don't see it from you, and they think it's just a job. They don't know how enriched they can become, how like informative they can do, and how it helped. It helped me.
yeah, because you know what, my husband said something. He told me something really important last year. He said, maybe we need to change the conversation with our kids and say how Dr. Fauci's making $200,000 by telling you to wear a mask. Like, change the conversation. And
So
I
they
had to
can
step back and
understand
say
it,
it was
right.
that simple, right?
That's
Like,
what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
Like, when
change the
people
conversation.
asked me how did my life path go, and I said I'm still going. Like, I retired from fighting fires and special. I did a lot of things, but I got stuff to do.
Yes.
I got more people to bring along in different avenues.
Wow,
So,
ladies,
I
gentlemen,
know.
people in the
This is a
audience.
2-hour show,
It's
Joe.
the passion, the purpose,
Yeah.
the energy that you brought, the information is amazing. And I can't say this enough about WOCIP and what you're doing, not only for women in pharma, but also for the college student that's in pharma, but most of all for the community at a large. It's just not about the careers, it's about who you're helping
Yes.
at the different levels. So on Saturday, please join and be part of the event. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your energy. And before we leave, I just want to say that, you know, we talked about prayer, and you said God gave you this. And I talked about how as we get older, we shouldn't have the same conversation, the same depressing comments. And I don't have time to be in that energy, in that space anymore. So this weekend, I'm sure that it would be uplifting and inspiring and informative. But Tyrone mentioned something about that Denzel Washington said, and he did it for yesterday, which was Thoughtful Tuesday.
Yeah,
So
I
we
had
wanna
a
end
Thoughtful
on this.
Tuesday. Like,
Yes.
I always want to give, you know, the JoTyme Fitness family our little words of encouragement sometimes. So I'm working out and I'm listening to Denzel Washington's speech. And he said to everybody that was around him, he said, what I want y'all to do tonight is everybody to take their shoes and put them way underneath your bed. So when you wake up in the morning, you got to get on your knees and you got to reach for those shoes. Hint, hint, you know,
And
learn
pray.
how to pray.
Right.
He said, because everybody keep thinking it's the cars, the houses, the this and that. He said, it's not all that. You can't leave with that. He said, when you're in your hurts, it's not a U-Haul behind you. He said, all that stuff is going somewhere else. He said, stop thinking like that, you know.
So my prayer is
Yeah.
that this weekend, it turns out to be exciting, informative, and you will continue to do great things, not only this weekend, but in the future. We're at a point where we're going to have some closing remark. So Jacqueline, you want to start off with a closing remark?
Yeah, just to say, again, thank you both for having us.
You're welcome.
And I want to thank WOCIP for what they've done to allow me to help grow and develop myself, and for allowing me to impact, the lives of women and now college students across the country and the globe. So yes, please come on Saturday, even if it's just to hang out with Niambi and I. Like, listen, it will not disappoint, I promise.
Okay.
Niambi?
I just want to encourage our children, the youth, you matter. And that's why we're out here, and take those chances. And, I hope that you'll come into this field and we can change the world together. And so, I really encourage everybody to join us at WOCIP Career Connections. It's a great opportunity. And so God has given us 86,400 units of time. What are you going to do with it today?
And speaking of time and today, I would be remiss if I didn't bring in your foundation. It is very dear, near to your heart. So could you please speak to Why Save a Life Foundation? Our time is limited, but it's important that we just talk about that. Put the website in the chat so people can reach out to you as well.
Yes, definitely. Why Save a Life? We are starting the conversation, bridging the gap and beating cancer one life at a time. We are advocating for the Black community with our fight against cancer, pushing for legislation to cover the cord blood banking costs, and also to increase the number of African Americans, Black community to the National Bone Marrow Registry. So yes, it is dear because the experience I had, it's dedicated to my mother who lost her life to colon cancer, my fiance who lost his life to leukemia because we couldn't find a match. So that's why I'm an advocate. So when you're talking about aligning with my purpose, and I'm so grateful I am in this industry so I can educate the community. So we've got to start talking to each other, talking about it, educating each other, so we can change the narrative. You are a champion cancer. You can find us at whysavealife.org. Facebook, Stories of Hope, and we are in LinkedIn. So thank you so much for that opportunity. I'm so grateful you allowed me to talk about that, because I'm really about changing this conversation. We are going to be, we're going to end this fight with cancer and start winning these battles. And you can do that through science, healthy eating, what you guys are doing. Please continue to educate about the healthy eating, the exercise. It's all part of it, the environment. So yes, so again, whysavealife.org, starting that conversation. And if you need any help or support, please reach out to us, and I'll put the email address in there.
We will do that. My mother had pancreatic cancer, and your mom had breast cancer. So that's very dear, near to us as well. And I'm gonna have to give a shameless plug, ladies, a shameless plug. Here it is. Joetta will be speaking on Saturday as well. And I'm just gonna put my little slide up there. I go on from 12 o'clock to 12:45. So there's my shameless plug. And so that's it.
Got you, Ms. Joetta.
That's it for now. Tyrone, you want to say something close?
I just want to thank every single person that I'm looking at on this podcast. We have superstars on this podcast, Olympians, nurses, Coast Guard people. We have everybody. I've seen Sophia and Sheila and Gerald and Adrian. Thank you so much for showing up and helping us show out, Miss Leslie. And the two of you, thank you. You know, I will be going on your website, checking y'all out, making sure, I can make some of y'all things going down the line.
Okay. Hint, right? Hint. Yeah. So we're not gonna go yet. We want to show you one more thing. We have a video that we want to show this gives you how you join WOCIP. So take a listen to that, and then we're going to come back and wind out.
WOCIP is a catalyst for developing women who can really drive change, and organizations are looking for leaders who are agile.
Well, ladies, in closing, I want to say it doesn't matter what role we take, or what we become along the journey. We have really become informed with the information during this journey, and I look forward to seeing you on Saturday, but more importantly, I look forward to being part of the group as we educate our youth.
Thank you so much and have a good evening.
And if you want to become a sponsor on the show, you know how to contact us, JoTymeFitness@gmail.com. And that's it. Next week, we have another young lady who will be on here, Ryan Pack, who will be the next speaker for us next week. That'll be week 3. So we look forward to seeing everyone there. We have questions in the chat, so please put your information there. And this show has come to an end. Thank you very much for your time and energy, and continued success.
Have a good night.
So long.